Hello and welcome back to the Gym Mastery Podcast for episode 62. Today we have two guests, the Anderson brothers, Elias and Laird. They recently opened a jiu-jitsu academy and face many of the same challenges any fitness business faces. Elias and Laird have an incredibly interesting story. We discuss their background, their professional fighting careers, their philosophy regarding business, and much, much more. So sit back, relax, and get ready for something a little different. Welcome back, everybody. We are on another podcast episode of Gym Mastery, and I have two special guests with me today, Laird and Elias Anderson. Do you guys have a preference on which one I say first? Elias is older. So
yeah, typically it's
seniority.
Elias and Laird Anderson. Okay.
Or just Anderson brothers.
The Anderson brothers. Very good.
Or
Very
the
good.
Elias brothers.
Yeah. Yeah, we have been referred to
Mr. and
as
Mrs.
that.
Elias
Yeah.
Anderson. So they own a jiu-jitsu gym. They just opened. It's called All Ground Jiu-Jitsu. And the main reason that I had them on here, besides the fact that I actually just started jiu-jitsu at their gym, is because there is a really one-to-one correlation between any sort of small group training, CrossFit or high-intensity interval training gyms, studio gyms, and martial arts dojos. And that brings up my first question for you guys. Do you guys prefer to call your place a gym or a dojo? Or something else?
I'll answer this first.
Yeah.
I prefer to call it an academy.
An academy?
Yeah, but I will refer to it as the gym constantly. But I'm trying to retrain myself to call it an academy. I think that gym is more correlated with weights and lifting, pressing, pushing, and whatnot. Which I guess you do a lot of that in jiu-jitsu as well. But yeah, I think just the format of the classes is more of an academic learning environment or something that we would try to do. So,
right. No,
academy.
that makes sense. And that's basically the reason you just want to bring that kind of intellectual side of it to be on the forefront.
Yeah.
I feel like for me, gym encompasses fitness, so with jiu-jitsu, you're also doing it's an exercise, right? You're practicing your fitness, but at the same time, it's a martial art. So, I think dojo can be used, academy can be used because you're practicing a certain skill based with martial arts or based in martial arts. So gym, academy, dojo, honestly, I hear them all and I don't mind either one of them.
Yeah, but I mean, I like your approach. You try to just keep saying academy until it kind of takes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so everybody just says that, all ground academy. So, well, let's jump into the first question I had for you guys. And this is more like character development, because if you don't follow martial arts, and especially jiu-jitsu, you may not know who these guys are. But if you do, you probably know something about their history. So tell me, you guys, how you got into martial arts. I know some of the history. I know about your family, but it'll be interesting to hear. You'll probably say some things that I don't know. Kind of your history, how you got started.
Yeah, I mean, martial arts was obviously a big part of our dad's life. And he was looking for something to kind of add into him. Really, he was looking for a great martial art. And so he traveled all over the world. He traveled to Japan, and he was looking to train the traditional arts there, judo and karate, and kind of see where that would take him. And during his time there, and actually during that time, it wasn't the most welcome to be training a white guy in Japan and in those traditional arts.
I heard there was some gunplay.
Yes. There was a little foul play, but like I said, they didn't necessarily want white people or just guys like him
just
training in there. Yeah, exactly. So during that time, he kind of heard of this thing called Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu and heard of the Gracie family and how they were kind of proving their martial arts against other martial arts, and he decided that that's something that he wanted to try. And I think it was his friend that actually got him into it and told him about it. So sure enough, he went out to Brazil and trained with the Gracie family. And
went to LA first though, because they were in Torrance.
Right.
Yeah, I went to LA, and then they had eventually invited him to go train at their academy in Brazil.
How long was he down there?
In Brazil? I think a couple months. Yeah, maybe a little longer.
Yeah.
But I remember he didn't want to come back.
Really?
Yeah, he loved it there.
How's his Portuguese game?
He said it's not much now, but he said it was pretty good when he was out there.
He has a few words still.
Okay, fair enough.
Yeah.
And so then he came back and he was at the Torrance Academy, which is pretty famous in the U.S. because that was kind of the birth of BJJ in the United States.
Yeah.
And he was, I don't want to step on toes and say things that maybe you were going to tell me, but he was an enforcer at that gym and had those famous challenge matches.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He was one of the guys. There was a lot of guys running those challenge matches that the Gracie family would put in for them, but he was one of those guys. If you look up some of those old Gracie challenge match footage on YouTube, like you'll find him and you'll find them saying "lol" and but yeah. So he was one of the guys that was taking on those challenges against other martial artists from different crafts, right? And kind of proving what the Gracie family wanted to prove, which was that, jiu-jitsu is the most dominant martial art.
Right. And so, I mean, you obviously opened a jiu-jitsu gym. You probably have a little bias toward it. You feel that's pretty much true?
I feel that grappling is one of the most dominant martial arts, like me specifically being an MMA fighter, both of us actually. I think grappling is like the ultimate equalizer. Like if you put someone down and you're like a high level purple belt and someone else has never trained jiu-jitsu, you're going to pretty much have your way with them.
Right.
Whereas like striking, everyone has a puncher's chance. Even if you're way better than him, like everyone can get hit. It's inevitable. So I think like grappling just kind of takes that danger out of it. And, if you're going to drown someone if they don't know what they're doing down there.
Right.
So, yeah.
Yeah. So you guys don't know Nathan Holliday, but he's the founder of the Level Method, which is, of course, what this Gym Mastery podcast is run by the Level Method. His dad is a black belt in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, owns a gym. I think Jack Holliday, I think his dad's name.
Yeah.
And Nathan, I think he said he's a blue belt, but he just never stuck with it long enough to get up to purple.
Yeah.
And the way he describes it, he's like, if you get up to even a blue belt and you get into a fight with somebody that doesn't know jiu-jitsu, it's like you have a superpower.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You're going to just dominate them.
Yeah, no, for sure. It's like I said, like the jiu-jitsu game is completely different than like a striking art, whereas like everyone knows, they don't know how to throw a technical punch, but everyone has the ability to throw a punch. Not everyone knows how to technically pass a guard. It's not intuitive to them,
No.
Punching and striking is more of an intuitive thing to people, even if the technique isn't there.
Yeah. Yeah. As humans, it's like built into us to hit things.
Yeah, exactly.
To roll around and move your hips in just the right way
Yeah.
and to like not leave a gap for somebody to get their knee through all that stuff. That is not intuitive. It's completely the opposite, actually.
Yeah.
Which is probably what makes it so powerful. So you just opened your gym a few months ago. I know that you have some experience in the gym space. Tell us about that. Like, how did you guys decide that you were going to open a gym and felt like you were seasoned enough to actually do it?
Yeah. Well, we knew, being martial artists, for the last, 10 years or our young adult life, like all we wanted to do was martial arts. So no matter what situation we were in, outside of school, working, like if we could teach martial arts, that was going to be the best option for us in terms of supporting ourselves financially and just supporting ourselves spiritually, emotionally, and whatnot. So we just knew that like if we weren't training, doing jiu-jitsu, competing, that we would have to figure out a way so that we could continue to teach and support ourselves financially that way. Because we just, have always tried to not get like a normal job and even like.
I think that's a valiant thing. I think a lot of people that listen to this podcast can like really, they have solidarity there. And like, if anything, to not have a normal job. Would be my goal in life.
Yeah. And I think another big thing for us was just to have our own space to train and practice our own martial arts.
Yeah.
Outside of teaching other people, just being able to come in whenever we need to practice with each other or, get better as martial artists ourselves, and just having that space for us. And also like with our dad, we've kind of been embedded in the Carson, Reno, Tahoe area for a long time. He opened an academy way back when we were young. We were kids, called Intuitive Martial Arts Center, and that was in Gardnerville.
Intuitive Arts, yeah.
Oh, Intuitive Arts Center, yeah. And that was in Gardnerville, so that might have been like one of the first, if not the first, jiu-jitsu academy in that area, in Gardnerville, Carson area, you know. So we've kind of been embedded in it, in this area as far as that goes. So it's always been something we've kind of wanted to bring back.
Yeah. That's awesome. So you guys did have some experience actually managing or running a gym. I mean, definitely coaching at other gyms, but
Yeah, I'd say we have experience watching it. You know, like there wasn't as much experience doing it ourselves, managing and
like managing the money and all
Yeah.
the like kind of business side of the stuff.
yeah, it was more like something that we got to see rather than do. And I think that helped us a lot. Obviously, you're going to run into trouble no matter what, you know, when you're opening a business. And, but getting to see our dad, he's gone through it a few times. So getting to see that and kind of take bits and pieces and have his help as well,
Right.
you know, it's helped us a lot.
How involved has your dad been in this whole process?
Very involved. Yeah. I mean, we're equal partners on it, right?
Oh,
All three
okay.
of us. So yeah, I mean, he's pretty much helped all ground, you know, have a strong foundation, you know, so that Laird and I can basically run the thing from the inside, you know, and he kind of supervises everything from the
It's
outside.
kind of an advisory position, really.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's kind of how he's always been for Laird and I, you know, like
Yeah.
always like the outside guy, the guy in the chair,
Yeah.
you know, helping call the shots. And we're the facilitators, right? We make sure like everything's done and that we're putting our best foot forward. And yeah, he's the outside guy.
Nice.
Which is cool. But we're trying to get him to become the inside guy again because it's been too long since we rolled him up a little bit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Not,
Like,
not
rough 'em up a
necessarily
little
as a
bit.
coach, but
Yeah.
as someone who can learn again. You know, it's been for such a long time. That's all it was for him, was coaching us, coaching other people. And now it's like part of opening this gym was like to get him back to being a student,
Yeah.
you know, and learning, because you're never too old to learn. You know?
Yeah, you're looking right at me. I see what you mean. So, yeah, I feel like a lot of people open CrossFit gyms all excited, bright-eyed and bushy-tailed. At some point, they close down. And what they enjoy the most, they go one of two ways when they close their gym. They either say, screw this, I'm never doing this again, and they go like join Orange Theory or something.
Yeah.
Or they're just so happy to get back to just working out. They're like, I don't want to have to worry about anything except just going in, doing my fitness, and just leaving. And so this is an opportunity for you guys to like kind of give him that path, I guess.
Exactly. Yeah. It's been a while since he's just been able to do it for himself, you know,
Right.
rather than for other people. So like just providing a space that he can train and learn again and be, you know, kind of fall in love with martial arts again. I think when you do it for that long, you know, you have like peaks and valleys of like your passion with it. And yeah, if we can provide the space for him to fall in love with it and just be passionate about learning again,
Yeah.
that's huge for us.
Just enjoy it again, because the business side of it can really kind of squeeze the joy out of things.
Yeah.
So you're just starting this path. So
Yeah.
you just got to make sure that you don't let that happen to you. Now, I do have some questions about just to preface this, one of the common things that gyms have that's always like when they hire a mentor like Two Brain, which I know you don't know who Two Brain is, but they're like a gym mentoring company. Yeah. The first thing they do is tell them to raise their prices. Very first thing. Usually they say raise your prices, and then people will have some success with that, and then they'll say, okay, now raise them again. And so now before you guys even moved in, before I even met you, I had already priced around and to see what it costs to train at a Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu gym, and most of them were right around $70 a month. And you guys are quite a bit more expensive, which is not a bad thing. So that's why I wanted to preface that. It's not a criticism, especially because, you know, I work out at your gym and I'm not like trying to get you to give me better prices. But but how did you guys come up with your pricing? And you've been in the game a long time. So why did you come up with the pricing that you came up with?
Well, definitely our experience, you know, we kind of took a look at some of the pricings of other gyms in the area and like what their, you know, unlimited membership was. And we feel that we can provide like stellar service. We feel like we can provide like top-notch technique, and we're young, hungry, you know, coaches and competitors ourselves. So just knowing that this is our life, and that every time we step on the mat, we're giving people the best versions of ourselves. We're giving people technique that has been, you know, solidified and worked on since we were kids, Right. We feel like we're providing something really special and providing a space where, people feel comfortable to train. People feel confident, people feel like they're part of something bigger. And that's really what we want,
Academy.
Yeah.
Right? You're not just at a gym, you're in an academy.
No. Yeah. We're an academy. Yeah.
That's it.
But
no,
that's,
I agree. I think that's awesome because if you're trying to provide maximum value to the people that come into your gym and you just want it to be an equitable trade, that you made the right choice because you're not going to get burned out as fast as a lot of people. A lot of people are so worried that nobody wants to come in and be their customer that they lower their prices and then they end up bitter in a year because they're like, oh, I train so hard. I do all this for these people and I give them really great prices and they take me for granted. And so hopefully you've kind of jumped past that step, which is a pitfall that most gym owners, I think, fall into.
Yeah. And we definitely didn't want to I guess downplay our value as coaches.
Right.
I mean, since we were 5 years old, we've been on the mats learning and it's the amount of time we've spent training and learning martial arts, that's a quarter of the time people get, degrees, law degrees and stuff like that. Right. So it's the knowledge we have in martial arts, jiu-jitsu, even the mixed martial arts side of things, we have such a huge amount of knowledge in that area and that's our expertise. So we just didn't want to downplay ourselves in our level of knowledge and what we could provide to the community. And also at the same time, having 2 black belts watching you at all times, which is not very common for gyms.
Right.
Where it's 2 black belts have eyes on you. They're able to correct you. They're able to walk around. It's hard with a big group if you're just one black belt to try to get to everyone and help them. So,
exactly.
Having both of us there, giving attention to people is big.
Well, and keeping your prices where they are will naturally keep your class sizes a little bit more manageable.
Yeah.
That having been said, if you keep doing what you're doing, and I've been around so many coaches and trainers and so many different areas of expertise in academia, and I can say honestly, you guys are very good teachers. You're very mindful. You've got a very good attitude about it. You've got a really good eye for movement, and you're good at communicating what you want from the students, sometimes tactile, sometimes verbal, sometimes by demo. You got to have all those things, and you guys do it well. So anyway, point is, I think that you chose right in your prices being a little higher. You did have the intro price and then it's going up. Yeah. So you're going to be 2.5 times the price of most of the gyms in town. And I guess if somebody's really serious about wanting to train, it probably is going to be worth it for them.
Yeah. And there are some other gyms that are around this price point.
Are there? Okay.
There's a lot of gyms in the area. It's as I feel new Reno is to the jiu-jitsu community. There's still a lot of gyms in this area, and we're from the Bay Area for a bit. So coming from that market where it's so saturated with jiu-jitsu, there's a gym every freaking mile from each other. So
gyms and Starbucks right next to each other.
Yeah, exactly. So it's kind of an untapped market here, but there still is a good amount of community as far as jiu-jitsu goes.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I really like your guys' product so far. It's fantastic. So I did want to shift gears a little bit though. Can keep it interesting. I just found out 2 days ago. So Tina, Laird's girlfriend, told me that Elias and your guys' sister Lola have a band. And according to Tina, you're actually pretty good. So tell me a little bit about that.
Yeah, I think, well, it's funny, our music journey started when Laird and I were younger. We had a band with our stepsister Hannah, which didn't really have any instruments actually. We were just singing for our parents. Yeah. But I think I got that itch for performing for a crowd.
Yeah.
And then it was always just a side quest. Jiu-jitsu, martial arts, pursuing that was the ultimate goal. Mm-hmm. And then as I grew up, I was music is a side quest that I really want to take at some point. And then eventually picked up a guitar, learned campfire chords, my open chords and whatnot. But never really had any time to invest in music, outside of training and outside of teaching. So just didn't seem like an idea that would come to fruition. But when we moved back to Reno, Lola expressed a lot of, motivation towards actually wanting to pursue music. And she's always been an incredible singer and an incredible vocalist. And we took a trip to LA once, met some really cool people. It gave us like a lot more motivation, gave us some cool ideas. And then when we came back, my friend, one of my best friends and roommates, Jake, he's a really amazing drummer as well. Like, okay, we got a guitar, we got a drummer, we got a vocalist. Like, let's see what we can do here. And then two other friends just kind of fell into the equation as well, just super naturally. And then it was just consistency. It was like, okay, here we all are. Like, we all want to do this. Like, let's just pick days to show up and practice and see what happens. And then pretty much never missed a practice session. Like, always practice, like minimum twice a week. And then, yeah, we just started to build this really strong bond, great chemistry with all of us. And now, like, Lola's dreams are like becoming a reality with the band, and my side quest is almost complete. But yeah, no, it's definitely turned into something like bigger than I could have imagined. You know, at first we just played our 6th show here in Reno. Actually, it was in Truckee, our last show, but yeah, shooting for the stars. You know,
and what's the name of your band?
Negative Association.
Negative Association.
Yeah, we're like an alternative rock band. You know, sort of jazzy sometimes. But Lola's got like an incredible like powerhouse of a voice. And awesome. Yeah, honestly, just the chemistry is amazing. Like when we start like coming up with songs, coming up with lyrics, it feels like for the most part, it just happens really naturally.
It's very organic.
That's super awesome. Organic. I feel like we just work really well together, and like everyone's really excited about it. And yeah, it's been pretty cool to see like the development of the band.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, and then, so that's like your side quest, but so let's get into your guys' pro careers a little bit, because that's also very interesting. I don't know much about the jiu-jitsu game as far as like competition. It seems like there's a lot of variation in how competitions happen. So you're Laird 4-0 in Bellator in lightweight or featherweight.
Featherweight, yeah.
Featherweight. And then you in 2021, you won the world championship in jiu-jitsu.
Combat Jiu-Jitsu World Championship.
Combat Jiu-Jitsu World Championship. Yeah. So tell me a little bit about your journey.
Well, so from the beginning, just like Jiu-Jitsu, our dad was also focused on mixed martial arts. And, the Gracie family did it. They had, obviously, Hoist was a huge part of the UFC and just building that brand. And, my dad just kind of wanted to follow suit. And so he fought actually UFC 22. And pretty much ever since then, it's always been something. It's never just been jiu-jitsu for us. Our dad has always been like, we're going to do this. We're going to do martial arts. We're going to try to make you guys, great competitive mixed martial artists. And so ever since I could remember, it's been more than just jiu-jitsu. Obviously, jiu-jitsu is our base, but it's always been how can we build up towards being good professional mixed martial arts fighters, And that's kind of how our journey started, And since then, it's been so much of my focus, It's like my dad said, hey, we're doing this. And then eventually I learned to grow so much passion and love for it that it's like I didn't need someone else to tell me that
it became your thing.
It became my thing. And I wanted to do it, and I still want to do it every day, And yeah, and amateur fights first. I had 2 amateur fights, quick finishes, and then we went straight into actually 3 amateur fights. Sorry, and then we went straight into the professional organization. Bellator picked me up on a 1-fight contract, and that was back in 2018, I believe, or 20. Yeah, it might have been earlier, but yeah. So that was my first fight. I had a super tough fight, and kind of got like that tough fight out of the way in my first, in my pro debut.
And I haven't seen that one. That one ended in decision.
Yes, it was a split decision. I was super nervous going into it because, I was hearing them read the scorecards and I was like, oh my gosh, did I do enough? In my mind, I did, but when you're standing there and they're reading the scorecards, you're just you're unsure. And there's constantly times where, people get the nod when they shouldn't. And so, and that's one thing that everyone always talks about in martial arts. It's like, never leave it in the hands of the judges.
There's subjectivity there that you just want to try to avoid. Just close the door.
Absolutely. And then, after that, it's like, I took a huge break. I took nearly 3 to 4 years to just focus on getting better as a martial artist. I changed camps. I was training at AKA in San Jose, which, had a lot of great professional fighters. And it kind of gave me the time to build my confidence as a fighter. Like, I always knew that I was good and that, you know, I could do it at a high level, but I don't think I ever had like that confidence in myself to like, okay, I can beat these guys. I can be at this level. And taking the time to train at AKA and train with some of the better guys that fought in the UFC, fought in Bellator, really helped me build my confidence.
Nice.
Yeah.
Nice. So similar journey for you?
Yeah, similar. I mean, the goal was always MMA, you know. So we grew up, like we run a jiu-jitsu academy right now, but we grew up boxing, kickboxing, doing jiu-jitsu, going to wrestling practices. That was always the goal. And then out of high school, we kind of knew that that's what we would want to do. I fought a couple amateur fights, 2 professional fights, you know, had a string of tough losses. And I think the same thing, I just needed time to develop as a martial artist, as an athlete, as someone that's like, we were doing it for so long, but like Laird said, I think like we needed to build that confidence. Like we needed to know that like we could take everything we were doing and like implement it into the cage as like, you know, like just do it all together, you know? And I think we were doing our jiu-jitsu practices and then we would go to the boxing club and we would spar. But yeah, we never had like this opportunity to really blend it all together in like an MMA camp. Mm-hmm. And so that was a big, you know, propeller for Laird, like as he progressed and then, and you could see it in his results, you know, being an undefeated professional fighter and finishing, you know, those next 3 guys after his debut pretty easily, pretty handily. So that confidence was showing through. And yeah, after my last professional loss, I was like, I need to take the time to like really focus on what I want to do. And I knew that grappling was always like my biggest passion, you know, like I loved boxing, I loved kickboxing, but I was like, I want to really like see how far I can take it in the grappling department. And so it was just jiu-jitsu competition after jiu-jitsu competition. And eventually Laird and I both got the opportunity to compete at the inaugural Combat Jiu-Jitsu Worlds, which was showcasing submission-only jiu-jitsu with open palm strikes. Ooh. So as long as they were on the ground, you could do open palm strikes. So it was like this perfect blend of MMA and grappling. And I was like, okay, this seems like it's for me. Like this seems like a great like pursuit, right? In the meantime, while I'm sort of taking this break from MMA. Right. We had great matches there, great experience. And then I think just because we were so exciting and performed well, Eddie Bravo, the owner of the organization, was like inviting us back to more shows, and I ended up competing in, you know, EBI and CJJ Combat Jiu-Jitsu events. Like I think I had 5 or 6 events, and was just always like slowly climbing, like winning a match, then losing, and then winning 2, and then losing, and just really fighting to get to where I thought I could be. And then 2021 came around, and it was at, you know, my more natural weight class, which is bantamweight 135. It'd be a bit of a cut now, but at the time it was like pretty much my more natural weight class to get to. And I was like, okay, this is my opportunity. And I remember like as soon as Eddie like gave me the call or sent me the message, I was like, yeah, like I'm in it. Like no questions asked, like I'm in there, put me in. And yeah, from the beginning, I just visualized winning that. You know, I visualized 1,000 times like getting my hand raised every round. Yeah. And then eventually winning the title. And it was crazy. I mean, it was a really, really good camp, and we did most of it out here in Reno because we were here for like part of the pandemic, you know, because so much was closed down in San Jose. So we were living out here in Reno and doing most of our camp out here and just piecing things together, going from gym to gym or doing a bunch in like, you know, like our apartment weightlifting gym. Right. And just like trying to be fully prepared. You can. Yeah. But I think, I had just visualized winning that so much. And it just all, you know, started to unfold during that competition. You know, I won my first match and had a grueling first match, and then got into the second round, sort of a quick finish in the second round. But then third round came around, grueling match. And like at that third round, I remember thinking like, okay, I'm here. Like I'm here. I'm in the semifinals. Like my family's going to be proud of me. Like if I win or lose. And then I was like, no, fuck that. Like I just had to like reframe. I was like, no, you have to win now. Like you're here. Like you've been in this position before. Like tonight you're the winner. Tonight you're the champion. Like become that. Yeah. And incredible last match with an awesome opponent and the former champion. And we were in the third overtime, second or third overtime, because there's like 3 overtimes.
That's got to be tiring.
Yeah. So top of the, was it bottom of the third? I think it was bottom of the third. Yeah. But I had like, I either had to ride him out, meaning like control the position for as long as I could for the whole time period, or I had to get the submission. And I think like within a minute I had got the submission and then couldn't believe it. I was like, whoa, this is crazy. Just like, it like, it's such a like wild moment and experience that it almost doesn't feel real.
Yeah.
And I'm like running around, I'm looking at Laird, like we did it. Like we did it. We finally won this, we won a world title. There's a world title under the Anderson name. And it was just really a special moment. And
yeah.
That's awesome.
I think like even to add to that, like that moment was sort of the catalyst for like our confidence, and like knowing, I think there was a big part of us that though we were confident slightly, like we almost didn't feel like it was supposed to be us. We would have like
imposter syndrome.
Yeah. We'd have like close matches with high level competitors and, always like lose those really close matches. And then it was almost like we were starting to believe, or at least for myself, I was like starting to believe like, maybe it's like destined for these guys, not us. Maybe it's already predetermined and we're just not those guys. And then like just that tournament itself, as like Elias won the first one and then the next one. And then like he said, we were into the semifinals, and then I just knew that it was going to be us. Like I knew that it was going to be him that night. And then like seeing that it's like, it's all about hard work. It's all about like your mindset and the work ethic you put in, and like anyone can have it at any point, and why not us?
Yeah. Well, it's funny. There's this concept of earned confidence, right? Where there are people that, preach, if you just believe, you will achieve. And that's not true, right? Mm-hmm. Like you have to put in the work. The work has to be there. But you can also put in the work but not believe.
Yeah.
And so you've got to have both. And that
absolutely.
Was that point, like that turning point in your guys' lives where you're like, okay, we put in the work, we earned the confidence, but then we seize the confidence. We have it now. You win. And now it kind of makes you feel like the rest of your life, every challenge is something that you can overcome.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
So how's that translated into the gym business so far? I mean, do you think that it has affected your outlook on how successful you guys can be running this academy?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, similar thing with the gym. I mean, we were involved in so many gyms, academies, and teaching, running jiu-jitsu programs, but never on like the ownership side. And I think that we also needed to build that confidence and experience with like building a jiu-jitsu program, trying to get more students, and helping the gym overall. And I feel like now, especially because of our martial arts background and like the confidence we built with that, I feel like we do carry that into all ground, and we understand like it's not just like, you can't just believe it and then achieve it. Like you have to put in the work. You have to be tactical and strategic about it. And also you have to make it fun. Like at the end of the day, like you have to make it fun, or else it's going to feel like this chore. And then you're going to regret that you like tried to make your passion into, your work.
Right.
But, and I think that that's something that Laird and I do well. I think we try to make it like really fun, embrace the challenge, and try to win, like we're trying to play the game, but we're trying to win. And that's what we're doing with All Ground.
I hear that you do that same thing with spike ball, that it's kind of a big deal winning.
Spike ball is a little intense.
Almost
I've lost friendship.
a couple friends over that.
Yeah.
Wow. Yeah. Some fingers were lost. Friends were lost. So
Yeah.
So I know that you've got your 11:30 class coming up, so we can't go on too long. But I did want to ask you about your decision not to have contracts. Now, I don't know about other jiu-jitsu facilities. Do they typically not do contracts, like membership contracts? Is that just not really done, or is it done at some and not others? And why would you guys, or why don't you guys have contracts?
Yeah, I think some gyms do it, and they have both options, like a contractual membership or a non-contractual membership. And then I think to start, we just wanted to get back to the basics of martial arts, and like
to the roots.
Yeah, to the roots of martial arts, how it started in the beginning. And that's kind of what we wanted to provide for people, like how we came up in it with our, dad running gyms, and seeing how he did it for people, and like more than, like making the money. It's like creating personable, like real relationships with the people that come in and train with us, and like genuinely our idea is just to teach people martial arts, because martial arts has given so much to us and has changed our lives in so many ways. So we want to like give that same opportunity and feeling to the people that walk into our gym, and that we don't want them to feel like, they're contractually bound.
It's like transactional membership.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, there has to be an exchange. Like, you can't keep your lights on if you're not charging people money.
Yes.
But I know for me personally at our gym, we've played around with contracts like years ago, but what we found is that it's a small gym. It's a very intimate setting.
Yeah.
And we want people to be here that want to be here.
Yeah.
And if people don't want to be here, then we want them to be able to leave.
Yeah.
If you force somebody to come to your gym or force them to pay you when they decide they don't want to be at your gym anymore, then it's going to be uncomfortable if they even show up.
Exactly.
And so it just
absolutely
worked for us. So.
Yeah, I think we do really well about like just being transparent too, like with all of our students. We keep it as simple as we can, honestly. Like, just it's a monthly membership, and we're gonna provide you with the best service that we can possibly provide. And creating that like family community environment like is something we're passionate about. Every gym we've like coached at, like, the people become our friends, and it's an intimate sport, so like
you are literally rolling around on the ground, hugging each other.
Yeah, literally.
Violently.
Sweating on each other.
Yeah, a lot of sweat.
It's real intimate.
Yeah.
But
I think, if you want people to stay, just create genuine relationships with them.
Genuine
where
connections.
they feel, they feel good about it and we feel good about it.
Right. Yeah. I love the saying, it's not a good deal unless it's a good deal for everybody.
Yeah.
And so if you go into it with that mindset, I think that will serve well. That having been said, some gyms go with contracts, and I'm not against it. I was just curious what you guys were thinking about on that. So in your infancy as a gym, because how many months have you been open now?
2.
A little over 2 months. Yeah.
2 months. Yeah. So in your infancy, what is the hardest lesson? And this is a short life of a gym so far, but what's the hardest lesson you guys have learned so far?
Well, definitely just like the startup, and pushing through that. I think that's like such a deterrent. Yeah, go ahead. Oh, nice. Spider kill.
I saw that. Saw that thing just climbing down.
I was about to be Spider-Man.
Yeah, you ruined that for yourself, man.
Dang it. So sorry. Continue.
I think the initial hustle was like the hardest part. And I think that's the thing that like deters people the most, is like just how hard it's going to be at first. And I feel like that's something that we tackled really well. Like every single day we woke up with like a motivation to be like, we need to get like a strong foundation of students. Like we need to get like a real good base to like set ourselves up for success, so we don't have to like stress about this in the long run.
Right.
And I think that's something that we did well. It was really challenging at first, but you want to be able to like keep the lights on right away. You want to be able to pay the rent. And like we had talked about earlier, we were really confident about what we could provide. And so just like making sure that people knew that, but also felt like good about training with us, and felt like we were people that they sort of wanted to invest their time in, and their resources. Like we wanted to make sure that was like, super thought out, So yeah, I think just like that initial hustle was the hardest part. And now it's just, now that we have members, it's like, you want them to stick around. You want to see them. You want to see their faces regularly. And I think we're still at a manageable like amount where we can message them individually. And we're going to do that for as long as we can. Like we want to keep these friendships, keep these relationships, make sure that people feel comfortable, safe, included in the environment. Sure. And so it's a challenge, but like it's awesome. I would rather be doing this than working at a desk or something,
You say as you sit at my desk when I write code all day.
Also, I think trying not to be surprised by too many things. I think, for example, when we ordered the mats and they were supposed to come in on a day, and they did. The truck showed up and, pulled up to the gym. We opened the garage, and then, he was about to pull out the mats and then realized that he had the wrong truck and it wouldn't allow him to unload it. So then they had to bring it back, get a new truck, and that was actually going to take like a couple days or something. So it's things like that where it's like you expect it to be here at this time, or you expect something to happen on this date, and then like the universe has another plan, you know? And so it's like trying to get through that, or just expecting that like surprises can happen. Things that like you genuinely think like won't go wrong can go wrong.
Yeah.
You know?
Well, and it's kind of the nature of jiu-jitsu in itself, right? Like there's like this really weird push-pull. I mean, in the very little time that I've been doing it with you guys, there's a reactive side of it, but then there's also a proactive side of it. Like it's like chess, right? You have to have a plan, but then that plan is going to get jacked up by the other person's plan.
Yeah.
In this case, the universe. And so, you just got to be able to roll with the punches, so to speak. What's the best piece of advice anybody's given you? People have to have come out of the woodwork. Your dad, for one, is your advisor, right? So like, what pieces of advice have they given you in starting your gym up that you think are like the gold?
You know, one thing like, and it's not necessarily like the biggest thing, but one thing that I always kind of like go back to, and that my dad was told and that he told us growing up, was like, there's always a harder way. You know, there's always a harder way to do things, you know? And it's like, we translate that into our training too, but also like just recognizing like, I think that there's always more that we can do. There's always more effort we can put in, more, you know, time. And even if it's like slightly tiring, if it means like building success and creating an academy that we want, like sometimes going the harder way is the way you got to do things, you know? And it's not always going to be comfortable, and that's fine. You know, like
it is what it is.
Yeah, exactly. So I think like when you ask me that question, that's like the quote that I go back to.
There's always a harder way.
There's always a harder way.
Similar to that, like I think, you know, I heard someone say like working smarter, like not harder, is a privilege, like for people that have already worked so hard. Like you have to work your ass off to get to the point where you can work smarter.
Right.
And like just taking that into consideration, kind of like how our dad always said, you know, like we're willing and able to work as hard as possible right now, so that down in the future we can find more sustainable ways, like be smarter about business, be smarter as martial artists. But I think you just have to be willing to take your licks and hit the ground running.
I think that's probably some of the best advice I've ever heard. I love that. To kind of sum that up, it's like, we live in this society where everybody's watching life hack videos all the time. Like, how can I make life easier? Right. But there's a lot of value in just going ahead and taking your licks, doing it the hard way, sometimes even doing it the hard way on purpose. It's like learning math. If you just use a calculator all the time, you don't get very good at math. You have to do the hard thing, so that then when you use the calculator, not only is it faster, but you actually understand what you're doing. And so I think a lot of gym owners go into it like, I'm going to hack my way through this, and it's going to be the easiest thing ever. And it's kind of contrived and artificial if you go that way. Whereas if you're willing to just put in the hard work up front with the end goal of, eventually I want to optimize this and make it smoother and stuff. But don't go into it thinking I'm going to start off fully optimal. And it's going to be easy, because it's not. It's not going to be easy.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah,
absolutely.
So let's wrap this up with a couple questions. You know, just kind of funny, like when you guys roll, who wins more often?
Okay, Elias. Elias definitely wins more.
Elias wins more often. He big brothers you.
I think I still have the big brother block. It gets in my way. But no, there's no one I hate more than rolling with. Not hate, but I get nervous, genuinely nervous when Elias wants to roll with me. I'm like, oh my God, this is going to be the hardest roll. Like, you know, like I can roll with anyone in the world and feel great and love it and want to do it. But then when Elias asks me to roll, I'm like, all of a sudden I'm terrified. Butterflies in my stomach. And I'm like, okay, this is going to be really fucking hard, you know? So
it depends on what we're doing though. Like if it's a full MMA fight, Laird's going to beat my ass. But
he's had the success with the striking.
What
about just open
and the
slapping?
takedowns? Maybe. Like if it's a wrestling match, I'm losing for sure. But if I can blend it together a little bit in the grappling, like I'm pretty fast. I'm like, you know, I can stick to him.
You shoot quicker. You're a faster shooter.
I think he's just. Yeah, he's a faster shooter.
I'm just strong in awkward ways.
He's just like, I always call his guard Chihuahua guard because it's like he's like kicking his legs and like his arms together, and it's just impossible to get through. And I'm like, it looks like a little Chihuahua on his back, like kicking his arms and legs. But no, he's like, the hardest person to roll with till this day is my brother, you know. And I think that's also because we've rolled with each other for so long. It's like, and we're still trying to constantly develop,
Right.
Yeah.
you know. But yeah, nothing harder than rolling with Elias.
Nice. And then, so 1 minute, this is it. And then we got to go because you got to go to class. What is your plan for ramping up? I know, didn't want to get into it. You tore your ACL, you're recovering from your ACL injury, and you guys are kind of ramping up your training to get back into pro fighting.
Yeah.
Anything on the horizon?
Well, Elias is competing at the end of the month against a high-level jiu-jitsu competitor that had a good showcase at the Gi World Championships this year. So,
Oh, nice.
yeah, so
it'll be a
Elias
good
is
challenge.
Yeah. And then, you know, for me specifically, it's just getting back to full health and getting back to a routine with my training. You know, I'm trying to train routinely right now, practice the martial arts I can practice without having to use the leg as much, and just continue. I told people, like, I want this injury to be a benefit to my martial arts. You know, I want to come back better, more cerebral about the sport, stronger, you know, than when I left it, you know.
Right.
After the injury. So that's the big thing for me right now.
Nice. So if anybody wants to watch Elias, probably won't be televised, maybe streamed.
I think so. I think
Yeah.
they'll probably stream it.
Okay.
Yeah.
End of the month. So I'll put that in the comments or in the
Cool.
the notes for the show. So I'll put a link to that, and then keep your eye on Bellator featherweight for Laird Anderson, and we'll see what happens.
Yeah.
It'll be awesome.
Yeah. Thank you.
Yeah. Thanks for joining.
having us on.
Thank you.
This is
Ty.
awesome.
Yeah,
Great
this
setup.
is awesome.
All right,
Thank
guys.
you so much.
Talk soon.
Yeah.
Yep.
Thanks so much for joining us. If you know someone that would benefit from this podcast, please share it with them. It's our goal to bring valuable information to the people on the front lines of health and fitness, and I hope we did that for you today. Also, if you enjoy the Gym Mastery podcast, please review us and leave up to a 5-star review. We'll see you next time.